In the wake of the Israeli strike last month that killed 6 people near Doha and injured several more, President Trump has signed an executive order bolstering U.S. protections of Qatar.
The order states the U.S., quote, shall regard any armed attack on the territory, sovereignty, or critical infrastructure of the state of Qatar as a threat to the peace and security of the United States. The order continues, in the event of such an attack, the United States shall take all lawful and appropriate measures, including diplomatic, economic, and, if necessary, military, to defend the interests of the United States and the state of Qatar and to restore peace and stability.
Now, Trump signed that order while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was visiting the White House earlier this week. During that visit, Netanyahu did apologize to the Qatari Prime Minister for the strike.
Following the order, many online pointed out the similarities to Article 5 of the NATO treaty, which states an attack on one is an attack on all, and that a show of support for Qatar didn't sit well with many of Trump's supporters. Max Nordau posting to X, quote, by the way, there's no similar guarantee for Israel. American troops have never died for Israel. Are you ready to die for Qatar? Laura Loomer suggested in her own post the Qatari money financed both an Iran-backed attempt on President Trump's life, as well as, quote, radical left communist and Islamist causes on college campuses, writing in part, what about assuring our own safety from Qatar?
Of course, voices from the other side of the aisle were no less critical. Pod Save America host Dan Pfeiffer posting to X, quote, I'm sure this has absolutely nothing to do with the $5 billion golf resort that the Trump family is building in Qatar with the support of a government-backed real estate fund, or the plane that they gifted him. And fellow Obama bro Tommy Vietor chimed in, writing, this is insane. Trump released an executive order saying that any, quote, armed attack on Qatar is a, quote, threat to the peace and security of the United States. The entire concept of, quote, America first and restraining and avoiding foreign wars is dead and buried at this point. That's a lot to unpack. I think, obviously with the Department of War and the way that we attacked Iran in this year and all the many things, the president is not solely focused on America first. A lot of people disagree with some of those actions. But to stay on this exact story, I think that the president has to show some type of response because he maybe has a split base. Partially, people think that Israel should not be telling President Trump what they will and won't do in this situation. Yeah. And President Trump should be the leader and say what we will and won't do. And so when you see that you were attacking Hamas leaders and were successful in some ways, but then you also killed a Qatari security officer, which was somebody who works for that government that we have an allyship with and have American bases in that country, then you understand that Netanyahu is decidedly ruining diplomatic relationships that the United States has.
If I'm understanding this correctly, while it is, I don't think, America first necessarily to offer some blanket security protection to a foreign nation, we want to be less involved in the affairs of foreign nations, not more, not obligated to participate in some more if they come under attack. So I certainly understand the skepticism. This is not really America first on one hand. On the other hand, it is, if I'm understanding it correctly, it's counter to Israel's interests because they want to reserve the right to blow up Qatar whenever they feel like it. So in some ways, you could argue perhaps that it is an anti-interventionist measure because it makes a war or a conflict between Israel and Qatar, or Israel and the people that Qatar is harboring, less likely because we're committing to defend Qatar. So that means Israel should not attack it. Now, we have not been very good lately at getting Israel not to do things we don't want them to do. We give them money, and that ought to be enough to say, don't attack Qatar because we give you money and we don't want you to. We shouldn't need to put it explicitly in a security agreement to get this state, a client state of ours that we give millions of dollars to, billions of dollars to do what we say. So it's a little unfortunate that this is even necessary. We should just call up Netanyahu and say, you can't do that.
Yeah, we should.
Or no money.
I agree.
Or no more money.
I 100% agree with you, which is why the point's being raised about the fact that Qatar gave him a jet, the president, to put in his presidential library. And he's building a resort there that's going to make him millions, if not billions of dollars, would be the reason why, well, this is the exception to the rule. Israel can do whatever it wants. But here's my exception. When it starts to affect my bottom line personally, then, I'm going to start to step in.
I agree. I don't want Israel to attack Qatar.
No, but if the reason is only for personal benefit and interest for making money, well, I don't know. It's confusing because a lot of people would have said that you would have had this conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu months ago, if not years ago. But he's having it now after they've done many different things that we can point to that are saying, okay, this is going a little bit too far. Let's reel it in and talk about what our solution is.
We tell them not to do things.
But now he's making a public announcement when it personally starts to affect you can find a money trail to his pocketbook. And so you question the interest or the reason about why now. Because remember, the Qatari official said, we gave you that jet. We gave you that jet as a gift.
Why now is
we gave you that jet. We gave you that new Air Force One plane as a gift, no strings attached. Well, the strings are, if anything, go to war for us. Obviously, we're seeing the strings.
They gave him the plane before Israel launched that attack.
I know, but in the future, like, Robbie, let's say I give you $100 and I'm like, for nothing, don't worry about it. And you see me, something happen to me outside, like somebody's like shoving me around. I expect you to do something about it. I do. I expect you to do something about it. I gave you $100 yesterday. Come help me. Don't walk past.
And if the person
and it's mostly because of the $100.
And the person was shoving you around was my best friend who I bought, I don't know, night suit thing to camouflage him in the bushes. I'd be like, hey, I told you not to attack Lindsay. You can't attack Lindsay. And now I'm going to make it explicit. Lindsay is under my protection. In case you didn't get it, when I gave you everything I gave you, and I said, and don't attack my other friends, and you did it anyway, so we're being really clear, don't attack Lindsay anymore. That's basically what's happening. And I don't know, they're going to say, well, we'll attack Lindsay. Well, yeah, well, we're not attacking Lindsay unless we feel like it, unless Lindsay's harboring terrorists.
So what's the long-term solution here then?
I don't know.
Because that's kind of the deal. It's like, okay, fine. Even if he did it for personal interest or he did it because he wants to make money and doesn't want to ruin his relationship in the Middle East, both are okay. Right. But it's more of like, now, what are we talking about for a long-term solution?
I don't care if he builds Trump land
on the Gaza Strip?
In Qatar.
Oh, yeah, I don't really care either. I just was saying, like, if that's the motivation, like, the motivation could also be starving Palestinian people. The motivation could also be that the UN is calling this a genocide. The motivation could be so many things for our president to not say, if Hamas doesn't accept this last deal, I'm giving Israel the right within all of its means to do whatever it wants. That's basically what he said. That motivation could be a lot of things,
Trump
not just the money that Qatar makes.
That is the final deal. Trump. I relate to Trump's frustration with both the Israeli government and with Hamas in that, or the representatives of the Palestinians. I relate to his frustration because I am also frustrated by it, because I think, I've said this many, many times, I will just say it again, I think both sides of this conflict are incredibly unreasonable. I think the Israeli government is killing thousands of people unjustly, and it's awful, and we should have nothing to do with it. I can't believe it's still going on. It is unconscionable to me. On the other hand, I can't believe that the leadership of these poor, oppressed people are so indifferent to their suffering and destruction that they're happy to not surrender, even though that there is no future for them at all, and have their people remain in the Stone Ages. And it's just so terrible on both sides. And Trump is saying, okay, enough is enough. You got to come to a deal or whatever. He's just threatening things because he wants them to make a deal.
But no, he's not going to make a deal. So he's like Taco right now. He's not planning on doing anything.
There's not anything we can do.
I know, but you're saying that he's just threatening things with no follow-up. Like, he's just saying it to
throw out the follow-up is going to be unleashing Israel to kill even more people in hopes
and then how is that a solution, though? That's what I'm saying.
The hope is that pressures Hamas to reach a deal. But I don't know why more death would persuade them to do that when...
But if you were really trying to reach a deal... and
thousands of children starving doesn't motivate them to say, you know what, we'll take the L on this one and let's move toward a better future.
So if Hamas and Israeli leadership were in Qatar trying to negotiate a deal, and that's the plan, then why would we just come up with our own deal with Benjamin Netanyahu only and then present that to Hamas leadership or whomever the leadership is in the Palestinian area and then present it to them after it's finalized and say, accept this or nothing? That's not how you have the negotiations when we were trying to have them around the world in peaceful places with both parties at the table. Why would you just abort mission and just go with what Netanyahu wants and present it? And then the American public is kind of in the dark, like, well, what's all in here? Why do they keep saying no? Why is... what's the full report? Like, is Israel saying no? There's a lot of that's unclear or murky for everyone. And I think the more transparency in this will maybe make us understand some of President Trump's decisions. Because a lot of people are just confused. Like you said, the main question is, why is this still happening years down the line? Next up, Jimmy Kimmel was on Stephen Colbert's show. And as expected, bashed the president. We'll be right back.